So now this plan has been fully exposed to not just America, but to the world, because you don't have all these dissidents that would have been rounded up and disappeared. Everyone's been able to be vocal. And even though we were censored on social media, Trump created the new social media. He created True Social. We had Elon Musk open up the reins of free speech on X. And so people have been able to speak out against this, and their plan has been fully exposed. Everyone was able to see what they did in China. Everyone's able to see what they did in Canada and Australia. You've seen the quarantine camps. We've seen the bills where they have involuntary quarantine on the docket. Everyone's already distrusting the media. It's woken up the entire country to what their agenda was. And now everyone knows about the Great Reset. Everyone knows about the New World Order. At least the majority of people do. And this is fully known and exposed.
You have this anti-system movement. What we are seeing is a revolution against the system.
The good news is the elites across the world trust each other more and more. So we can come together and design and do beautiful things together. The bad news is that in every single country they were polling, the majority of people trusted that elite less. So we can lead, but if people aren't following, we're not going to get to where we want to go.
Back then, I used to be so afraid to even speak about this above a hushed whisper, that now you have people like Trump standing in the way, exposing this on a grand level, that now it's encouraged regular, ordinary citizens to get out and speak out against this, because you have enough of a populace and a critical mass that have awoken up to this, and they're going to resist and fight against this. So I would have never done it before because it was a really scary time, but now I'm out there. You have people like General Flynn encouraging people to get civically involved in their local communities. And I'm out there speaking at city council meetings against mandates, talking about how the vaccine is killing people. I told my chair of the board of supervisors, I confronted him about attending Davos World Economic Forum and being part of the Great Reset to bring the New World Order. It is all part of this moving forward of the Great Reset. And of course, Nathan, you're on the World Economic Forum, so you know all about that. You're supposed to take an oath to defend our Constitution. And one thing our Constitution makes clear is that our rights are given to us by God, not by government. And our rights are we already have them. The Constitution secures those rights, and anything that goes against the Constitution is null and void. Nathan Fletcher is on the board of the World Economic Forum, and that's part of this Great Reset plan they have for us in the world, and he's working on behalf of foreign interests. He's not working on the benefit of the United States. So they know what's going on. I would have never done that in the past, but because these guys have paved the way, they've created an opportunity. It's the mass populace. We've woken up, and we have strength in numbers, and they can't stop all of us. And so now it's just the genie's out of the bottle. And you know, people like to say maybe this was just a dry run and they're going to do it again. No way. Not only was this their big plan for one world government, but this was their big chance. Because as you saw in 2020, the people were dumb enough to go along with it. People put on the face diaper. They walked in the single file line. They stood 6 feet apart. They did all these ridiculous mandates, and they followed the rules. No one will ever follow it again. The whole world has woken up to this tyrannical agenda. It's now normal conversation. No one will ever follow through this again. So they can't ever do it again. They have completely exposed their hand. Now everyone's expecting them to do something like this, and they'll never be able to do it again. And that's why you see the cabal's big plan for world government has been destroyed. This was their big plan, and it's been destroyed. They've been planning this for decades. For decades they've been planning this. So since the early 1900s, they had plans talking about this, the vaccines, the population control, and it's been exposed. So they'll never be able to do this again. That's why you have them trying every other thing they can do with the border, with fentanyl, with train derailments and talks. I mean, they're trying every single other thing they can do to try to break down and create chaos and civilization so they can try and bring us to the New World Order. But it's not going to happen because it's been exposed. And the other thing is that people say, oh, well, hey, we have the Second Amendment. We would have just defended ourselves if they tried to force it on us. That is exactly what they wanted. They wanted you to fight back because then they would have an excuse to detain you and carry you away and militarize police against you. And if you don't believe me that they had this plan, go look at what happened with the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing. There was a city, the greater Boston area, was put into martial law. And they had militarized police going down the street with tanks and automatic weapons. And they pulled people out of their house at gunpoint. We're talking grandmothers, women, children, pulled out of their house with the guns pointed to their heads by the police. And because they're looking for these so-called terrorists that probably, most likely didn't even do it because they saw another guy with an earpiece, but that's a whole other story. But they pulled people out of their house at gunpoint and with tanks and militarized police, and nobody did anything. It was a successful test of obedience. So what Trump did is he removed that option so that you didn't have to fight, you didn't have to hide, he stopped an inevitable civil war by rushing out vaccine. And hey, if you want it, take it. If you don't, then don't take it. Never forget, Trump gave you the ability to refuse the vaccine without having to hide, fight, or be carted to a quarantine camp and never heard from again.
Exactly.
We may wonder why President Trump hasn't spoken about the vaccine injuries. We must understand, however, that this would give a whole slew of countermoves to the cabal. They would, for example, be quick to blame all vaccine injuries on Trump personally. Then they could also use the opportunity to recall the vaccines, faking millions of new so-called infections or cases, as they did during the pandemic, followed by new lockdowns all over again for years to come, until a so-called truly safe and effective vaccine would be FDA approved. That could then be enforced by police and the military without any choice for anyone. During those years of new lockdowns, they could still execute their plan of rounding up millions of unvaccinated people, and their new world order would become a horrific reality after all. So instead of talking about the vaccine injuries, Trump has announced an in-depth investigation into the harms caused by Big Pharma. For this purpose, he has welcomed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. into his team to put a permanent end to the crimes of Big Pharma.
I will also continue my long record of standing up to Big Pharma by creating a special presidential commission to investigate what is causing the decades-long increase in childhood diseases, autoimmune disorders, autism, obesity, infertility, and other chronic health problems.
When Chad explained this on X, it was liked by Don Jr. In fact, President Trump has shared 18 of Chad's posts. Chad's paintings have been put on display during several large events with the sons of Trump and General Flynn. Recently, Chad gifted one of his artworks to President Trump, who had personally expressed great interest in them. You can also obtain a print of Chad's incredible art on his website.